Hi guys. So we are going to start writing day 2. This should be Wednesday, April 1st for you. Again, I said this in the writing or reading video and I'm going to repeat it again. Today was supposed to be our FSA writing test. I know that you guys will have another chance next year to take that writing test, and I know that you're going to do amazing and you're going to rock it. But today we're going to continue our writing using those ing adjectives. So our learning intention is I can show an action or use with ing adjectives. So this is going to be a longer lesson today. Please make sure you watch the entire video because your activity, I'm going to really scaffold the lesson today so that this should be easy for you. So our success, I can identify the verb in both sentences that were changed to an adjective. I can identify the noun the adjective is describing in each sentence. I can explain the difference between a verb, adjective, and a noun to a family member. And I can compare two sentences that use an adjective to describe a noun. There's one more thing I forgot to add on this. You are also going to create your own sentences using a verb that we can change to an adjective by adding ing. All right, so we're going to go ahead and analyze our sentence. So this is a sentence that I showed you yesterday, and this says a snake slithers through rustling leaves and climbs up into a tree. So I want you to take a second and I want you to identify the verbs. If you have a sheet of paper or notebook next to you, you might want to write this down so you can kind of quiz yourself about how well you understand the difference between verbs, nouns, and adjectives. So on your own, go ahead and think about the verbs in this sentence. A verb is something you can do, an action. I'm going to give you like 5 seconds. All right, so there are 2 verbs. What are the verbs? The verbs are slither and climb. So we can slither, we can climb. These are both actions that the snake is doing. We said yesterday that the snake is the subject. So the snake is what this sentence is about. So now we have to think about what are the nouns. So to yourself or to somebody sitting next to you, explain to them what a noun is. So if you are unable to explain that to somebody sitting next to you, a noun is a person, place, or thing. So looking at this sentence, I'm going to give you a few seconds to identify the nouns. There are 3. Okay, so hopefully you wrote that on a sheet of paper or told a family member sitting next to you. All right, so the nouns are the snake, a tree, and leaves. So person, place, or thing. When we talk about nouns, we are identifying the person, place, or thing. All right, so now we're going to identify an adjective. An adjective is a word used to describe a noun. So one clue that you could use to help you to identify the adjective is, since we just identified the noun, what word comes before the noun that might be describing that noun? There's actually only one adjective. Okay, so you should have said rustling. So this author is describing the leaves as being rustling leaves. Now, if we were to take off the ing, is rustle something that can be done? Is this a verb, an action? It is. So if we were to take off the ing, we would have rustle, which is something you can do. And we just answered that question. All right, so the thing that I want you to take away right now before we move on is I can change a verb to an adjective by adding ing. And so we identified that the adjective is rustling. If we were to take off ing and just have the word rustle, that would be a verb. So always remember, an adjective describes a noun, and we can create an adjective by adding ing to the end of a verb. All right, so we have a new sentence today, and what we're going to do right now is we are going to compare both sentences. So I'm going to reread our first sentence, and then I'm going to introduce to you our second sentence. And I want you to think about what is the same between both sentences. So this first sentence says, a snake slithers through rustling leaves and climbs up into a tree. The second sentence says, a skier races through the glistening snow and slows at the bottom of the slope. Slope is definitely spelled wrong here. We all make mistakes, sorry. All right, so think about what is the same. First, let's think about the nouns in this sentence. So take a second and think about the nouns in the skier sentence. What are the nouns? All right, so you should have said skier is a noun, snow is a noun, and a slope is a noun. All right, what about the verbs, the actions? Go ahead and take a second to identify the verbs. All right, so you should have said races and slows. All right, so what about the adjective in the sentence? All right, so the adjective is glistening. Now, if we were to take off the ing and have glisten, is that an action? Yes. Listen is an action, and so therefore it is a verb. All right, so both sentences have a subject. The subject of the first sentence is snake. The sentence is about the snake. The second sentence is about the skier. Both describe the subject completing something. So they're both doing something. The snake is slithering and the skier is racing. And both use an adjective to describe a noun. So they have glistening and rustling. So if we were to take off the ing, like I said, to glisten would be a verb and to rustle would be a verb. All right, so we're going to get into the you do part. So I identified 3 sentences that use a verb. So think of any verbs you want. You could do the boy ran. I'm going to show you 3 examples. So the first one I wrote was the class listens. So now I'm going to change that verb, which is listens, to an adjective in my next sentence. So I wrote, Miss Bishop taught the listening students. So the verb now becomes an adjective, and we change listens to listening to describe the students. The students were listening students. All right, number 2, I wrote the cup measures. And so now I'm going to change measures, the verb, to an adjective by adding ing. So I wrote, the measuring cup was used to bake. So I'm using this adjective to describe a noun. So the adjective is measuring and the noun is cup. All right, my last example is the woman mixed the cookies. The woman mixed the cookies. So the verb would be mixed. And so I'm going to change that verb to an adjective by adding ing. The mixing bowl was used to make cookies. All right, so this is where you're going to get into your activity. This is what you're going to submit to me. So pick an activity you enjoy, such as playing soccer, scrapbooking, bowling, etc. List as many ing verbs as possible to describe what a noun does in this activity. So for example, if you choose soccer as your activity, what do you do in soccer? Write down as many of those ing verbs as you can. So you're going to do that first. Then you are going to write one sentence using that ing verb to describe a noun. So I'm going to go back here because I want to be a little bit more clear here. Write one sentence using this ing verb to describe a noun. So most likely, this noun would be you, or it could be the ball, it could be a paintbrush, it could be a book, it could be whatever activity you choose. Make sure you change a verb into an ing verb to describe a noun. This would be an ing adjective. And you're going to submit that to me. This will be under Wednesday, verb to adjective sentence. sentence, but you're going to make sure that you include ing verbs, your list of verbs, and the sentence. All right, so this will be uploaded in Etsy for you to do. Make sure you have watched the entire video, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.